Welcome to Stratomatic Baseball, a leisure site dedicated to Stratomatic Baseball, the original fantasy baseball. This is video number 4, my setup and gameplay. My setup is about the items I use to play the game. This is my solo game setup. Obviously, we have the tray to roll the dice in, which I got from Hobby Lobby and just glued some green felt paper in the bottom. In the back, I created a wall, a picture of the outfield wall of the particular stadium that I'm using. The primary purpose is to help prevent the dice from rolling off the back of the tray. Sometimes it doesn't work, but it works most of the time. And then, of course, I put the ballpark effects for that particular stadium on there. I have the super advanced fielding chart. I use a photo box for my cards. I divided it up into 4 sections. I put the starting batting lineup on top with the starting pitchers, followed by relief pitchers, followed by bench players. And then I have multiple dice, which I'm going to go into here in just a moment. And then I have a business card holder for the opposing pitcher. This turned out to be a great idea because it reduces the chances of me accidentally reading the wrong card. And then we have the starting lineup. Then we have the score sheet. And I like to use 2 colors for the score sheet. If I'm using red, it's for the visitors. If I'm using blue, it's for the home team. And then I have a 13 by 19 double-sided sheet of paper, which I put all the strategies that I use. I call it my poster strategy. And then I have a dry erase board that I made up to track the game. Again, I use red for visitors and blue for home. If you'll notice here that there's a visitors have a man on first that's being held on by the home team. It also has a place to track the outs, infield in, corners in, and outfield in. And then I use a highlighter when I bring in a new pitcher, especially in the middle of an inning, to help note where the 2 pitchers separate. This is the setup against an opponent. It looks almost the same. The thing I want to highlight is I create scouting reports so that each person can see what the opponent's players can actually do, which allows for a little bit more strategy. And then the dice trays, the dice tray. This is a metal sheet that I actually bought from Amazon, and I just use those little magnets and put it in. Very, very simple. But if you notice that the tray moves around, I solved that by picking up some cabinet bumpers. Works really great. Now, let's talk about the walls. These 4 sheets are for when I did the World Series, just a bunch of fun facts. And it has the ballpark effects on them as well. It was just for fun. And of course, these walls are made out of a half sheet of landscape paper, 4 1/4 by 11, and has my teams on there. You'll notice in the right corner, it's Leavenworth State Penitentiary for those vilified players like Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, those players that are worthy of the Hall of Fame but won't make it to the Hall of Fame. But it's all for fun anyway. But yeah, moving on. In the Stratomatic rulebook, it indicates that the batter rolls all 4 dice. I don't like to play that way. If I'm playing against a real human opponent, and I like to play with participation in mind, so that the person on defense or pitching gets to roll the pitching dice, and the batter or the guy that's on offense gets to roll the batter's dice. These are the dice that I have or use. I have the pitcher for the balk, wild pitch, and pass ball. I have the offense for the batter, runner, stealing, and those kind of results. I have the black dice for fielding and errors off the super advanced chart. And then the bunt for hit, I use the zone and results. And of course, I keep extra dice handy just in case it rolls out of the tray onto the floor and somewhere where I can't get to right away. So, a regular roll for bases empty. We have the pitcher and defense, the red and the black, and then the blue for the batter and whatever the offense has. If there is a runner on base, then we add the red 20-sided die for balk, wild pitch, and pass balls, and then the rest of it's still the same. And then if there is an error, then I bring in the black die and the white one because depending on what the chart says, sometimes you have to read a 2 through 12, and sometimes that 2 turns into another 1 through 6. So I have those available also. And then for bunting for a hit, I have an 8-sided die for the zones, and then I have the result. Again, this is the dice that I use depending on the situation. I have the pitcher dice or defense, along with the batter and base stealing and any kind of offensive thing. I have the fielding one, and then I have bunt for hit zone results. When I'm playing a game and I need to look up something, I've condensed it to these 2 sheets of paper. I have the advanced fielding chart, and I have what I call the strategy poster. The strategy poster has the super advanced ground balls, the super advanced hit and run, stuff like that, along with bunting and bunting for a hit. It is a 13 by 19 sheet of paper, and it has all the information I need to play the game and have strategy. This is my score sheet. My score sheet has a home side, which is blue, and a visiting side, which is always red, with also blue and red pens. That way it helps prevent me from accidentally marking the wrong side of the sheet. This is what a near complete form looks like. I have my Robo game number. Robo stands for my first name, Robert. If I'm on game 54, the next one that I play will be game 55. That way I keep track of it. I have the series and game number, like when I played the Royals 77 team against the Royals 80 team. It would be a 77-80 royalty, and then the game number, whether it's game 1 or game 7, whichever. I have the opposing pitchers put there, and then I have the position and air, along with the arm strength, and then the offensive game stats that I'm interested in keeping, and then of course a little bit more like bunt for hits and stuff like that, sacrifice bunts and sacrifice flies, defensive stats such as double plays, errors, and pass balls. And I like to keep the opposing pitchers on the offensive sheet. Much easier to trace the information. And I have sometimes, but not all the time, I'll put the pitcher rotation down at the bottom. And then I have the ballpark effects, which is on the home side. And then, of course, I have the advanced defensive ranges down below for quick reference. If you're going to spend a lot of money on this game, it's important that you protect your investment. I like to go through clear bags and pick up these 3x5 bags that do a wonderful job protecting the cards and your investment. Storing the cards, as I mentioned earlier, I use these photo boxes, and they're divided up by these index cards. I have the starting lineup on top, and I have all my starting pitchers, then my relief pitchers, and then my bench. And then for all the teams that I've put together, I have put them in these photo cases that hold all the teams. I think I have 3 of them full now, and so it's easy to find the team. And then for the cards that I haven't put a team together for and not interested in playing at this time, I have these index card boxes. And so this is how I store it. I've got the in-season storage where, let's say I have 6 teams playing in the league, then I put them in a little photo box thing also, so they're handy. The active team stays in the briefcase. And then when the score sheet folder is complete and the series is over with, then I put it in the file cabinet, little file box. And of course, the briefcase that has all the active stuff, like defensive, um, the advanced fielding charts, the poster charts, and so forth, the walls. So, and of course, during the off season when I'm not really playing, then I'll stick everything on this big shelf. As you can see, there's where the index card files are and the active uh, photo boxes. So it makes it easy to find. And then I play on a 53-inch table that I got from Amazon. It works really great. Let's say something comes up and I don't have to put the whole game entirely away. I can just leave it on the table, roll it out of the way. Works great. And of course, Amazon, but Stratomatic comes with that cheesy cardboard thing. I like to use the magnetic dry erase board for it. And again, you can use the magnets to identify where you're at in the game. And of course, being a dry erase board lover, I have all my dry erase boards on a bigger dry erase board. I have the game status, which you've already saw. And then I have the bunt for hit one, and then I have the advanced stealing. And then, should I ever play with the super advanced stealing, I have one for that. It's written in marker form so that it doesn't erase too easily, and I can just use a dry erase marker to fill out the information during the game. So that is my physical setup. Baseball, a game of stats. And I am crazy enough to build my own database to set up my game. I have my team pages. They're on the left, and on the right you see all the list of teams that I've created. Then I have the player pages, the pitchers and the batters. I take the particular card, fill out the information, and then attach them to the team. If I want to put them in an all-star thing, then I just duplicate it and add it to an all-star team. Pretty simple. And then I track the games also. I have my schedule there in the yellow, and then the stats that I want to keep there in the portal down below. And then, of course, I have the standings. And then I have the lineup export. This is the page where it has the player information. And then that little black box there in the blue box, I can set up the lineup that way. And then on the right, you see the lineup set up. And if I want to change it, I'll just click on the little black box with the yellow button and change the lineup. It's pretty simple. And then I export it into Excel, and then I copy and paste it into Numbers. So I might be crazy going this length, but it works. In the short run, it takes a lot of work, but in the long run, it pays off. And this is also how I create the scouting reports when I play against another opponent. All right, now let's look at my gameplay modifications. My number one rule is the pace of play. I do not like looking up things and looking up things and looking up things, which is the case with the super advanced air or fielding chart. Some pitchers have a lot of X's on them, and that's a lot of time spent looking up information just to find out it's not an error. And that's why I have use the advanced fielding chart, and I have the strategy poster because it makes looking things up much, much faster. Now, if you like, you can go to Baseball Max and have all that stuff. You can play the super advanced version with Baseball Max, and it won't take any more time. So when it comes to ground balls, I like the super advanced play. I took the chart that's in the back of the book and created my own ground ball reference chart. The only modification is if the pitcher on the pitcher dice is rolled into the one column on the batter card, and it turns into a ground ball A, um, with the bases loaded, no outs, then it becomes a forced play at home. Hit and run, I like to use the super advanced play. Sacrifice bunting, whether it's safety or squeeze, I like the super advanced play. And when it comes to ballpark effects, I do use the ballpark effect. However, in Stratomatic play, if it's not a home run, it's a fly ball B. But in Stratomac play, the way I play it, if it's not a home run, then it doesn't necessarily mean fly ball B. Simply because if the park is deep enough not to be a home run, although it would be in another park, then it's deep enough to advance all runners. So this is what I decided to do. Let's take Kauffman Stadium from the Royals for 2015. The home run is 1 through 5, and the fly ball B is 6 through 20. However, the way I adapted the game or modified it is that 6 through 10 would be a fly ball A, and 11 through 20 would be a fly ball B. And that same holds true for any ballpark that has deep. If it's a ballpark that has a home run through 1 through 9, then number 10 would be a fly ball A, and then 11 through 20 would still be a fly ball B. So any number between the home run up to 10 becomes fly ball A, and anything from 11 through 20 becomes fly ball B. Holding runners. Now, in the Stratomatic play, you have pitch to batter and you have pick off base runner. I like the pitch to batter with the wild pitch, ball can pass ball. Even though that if you are successful or that happens, that you're supposed to re-roll. I only roll once, and whatever the outcome is from the pitch, that's what I play with. But I also don't play with the pick off the base runners. In fact, I'm not even sure how to do it because I don't do it because I think it just slows the game down too much. When it comes to stealing, I don't use the super advanced stealing. I think it just makes the game just a little bit longer. So I'll use the letter grades, but I also think that AAA is a rare letter grade, and it deserves a success rating of its own. So I bumped it up 1, 18, 12, and 8 respectively. And then for the Stratomatic play, they have the Steelers grade, and then they have the artificial, and then they have the catcher's arm or range. And then if you're holding the runner, there's another deduction. And then if you happen to be successful, you use the teacher's range or T rating. I, on the other hand, kind of like to combine them all a little bit. I like the Steelers grade. I like the artificial turf. I like the catcher-pitcher hold combination. I really do. And then I would use the T rating if I wouldn't forget to use it most of the time. So that's how I like to do stealing. It speeds up the game just a little bit. And then cutoff game play. I like the super advanced play, but I can never remember when I'm playing. So I use the advanced version with a little bit of a modification there. So, and then the pitcher's point of weakness. The rule book talks about it, like any 3 hits or walks, and he reaches his inning of point of weakness. Then his point of weakness actually begins, and that or the maximum that a pitcher can go is 11 innings without reaching his point of weakness. I like that concept to an extent, and I'm actually still somewhat undecided how I'm doing it. The direction that I'm leaning towards, that if a pitcher reaches his inning of point of weakness and he's still pitching well, he gets an extra inning, and then when he finally gives up a run after that point of weakness, then his point of weakness starts. Again, I'm still undecided how to play that. I just want to make it a little bit more simpler. That seems to be when I play other opponents. This advanced version, that seems to be the one of the things that's really confusing. So, resting pitchers. I don't see this in the rules, so I come up with my own variations. In a 3-game series, 1, 2, 3. I follow the rotation. Nothing there. With some specific rules for the relief and closer, and of course, a 5-game series and a 7-game series. I follow the rotation for the first 4 games, but after that, as long as he hasn't pitched in the 2 prior games, you can change the rotation up. So, like in game 5, if you want your second game starter to pitch again, you can do that instead of the first game. So you can do that, yeah. So in the board version of Stratomatic Baseball, you cannot bunt for a hit. If you're a fast guy that can bunt, there's no way to do it. I mean, yeah, they've got some deep answer within sacrifices, but if you want to just straight up bunt for a single, there's no way to do it. You can do it in the Baseball Max version, but you can't. So I came up with a way to do it. It looks more what's on the screen looks a little bit more complicated than it actually is. But yeah, I'll be explaining that in the next video, number 5. But yes, you can do it, I believe, in the Baseball Max. I only had the trial version. I didn't care for it at the time, so I don't use it. And then my gameplay, the other things I do not use the super advanced stealing, which I've already talked about. I do not use the super advanced fielding, which I've already talked about. And then I don't use the plus injury. They only give you so many cards. You don't have a minor league, so you can't bring somebody up. And so the whole notion of trying to figure out substituting players is just so confusing. And it's also one of the reasons why I don't use pitchers don't bat. I like the DH. I've always liked the DH. And then I don't rob home runs, even though I like the idea. And then I certainly don't use weather effects. All those would be nice, but again, the pace of play is my number 1 rule. So a lot of the stuff you can get in Baseball Max, I'm not entirely sure what you can or cannot do anymore because it's been a while since I used it. The trial version, which I only used for like 2.5 days. But that's it for my gameplay. And the next video, number 5, will be bunting for a hit. This has been Stratomatic Baseball, shining light on the original fantasy baseball, Stratomatic. Visit Stratomatic.com for more game information. So, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and ring that bell. And lastly, thanks for watching. I wonder how many seeds a baseball player can fit in his mouth, said the thinking man.